It is an important factor in a highly competitive process, and it can help tip the scales in your favor, or it can be like another feather on a scale that complements a really strong academic career.
So as far as preference for us, it doesn't, we don't have a preference on GMAT or GRE if you decide to take the test.
We acknowledge that the GMAT Focus Edition, the new edition coming out, is supposed to create greater accessibility to taking these kind of exams. So we're embracing the change.
We accept either or tests, so GMAT or GRE.
Take whatever you feel comfortable and most confident in doing so.
Choose what test you feel like works best for you.
So GMAT or GRE are required, or you will be able to submit a testing waiver.
For the full-time MBA program, we'll look at the GRE and the GMAT, and that'll include the new version of the GRE with the no distinction there, and the GMAT, the current version as of this recording, and the GMAT Focus Edition. We're not going to have a preference.
At GRE or even a waiver, really kind of dig deep into what each test really consists of, and knowing what your strengths are to really make a determining factor of how you plan to move forward in that process.
Do not let it deter your whole plans if you've already begun. There's no need for that. A thing I'll say there too, if the GMAT's not working for you, switch to the GRE if it's better. In the beginning, before you even go down these journeys, I feel like the first thing you should do is take a practice exam for both and see where you're more comfortable, where you perform better. We have no preference at all.
My suggestion usually to people, now this is maybe where I do show my age, I always say go to like a half price books, go get a couple manuals, look through it, look at some practice questions. I know everyone should just do that online now. So I got to change my answer.
The questions for each of the tests are going to be written a little bit differently. Take the free practice test. Just go at it, take it, and then figure out, okay, which one did you feel more comfortable taking? And then that's where you want to invest your time in preparing for that one exam. Don't take both, take one and focus on that. But yeah, no preference.
There's a wide range of things we're going to look at to be able to make sure that we're making the best decision possible. With the new GMAT as well as GRE, we will accept those scores as well. So if you are looking to take the newer test versus the old test, we'll accept either one as well.
Should I take the test or not? We're going to give them sort of, again, no guarantees that if you take the test and if you get a certain score, you're going to be admitted. We're not that type of program, but we're definitely going to still stress from a self-reflection standpoint that when you think about your overall application, where do you stand in the class?
We require a test score or an application for a waiver. So the GMAT or the GRE are the tests that we accept. Candidates take those tests, once if they're lucky, but usually many times candidates across the board taking the tests once, twice, and sometimes more than that. And that's great. It shows your focus and determination and understanding of what it takes to be successful in the admissions process.
If you're taking the GMAT, 5 times and your score didn't improve, me as an admissions member is going to think, why didn't you think of taking the GRE, right? That shows ability to be fluid and flexible and self-aware with yourself, or maybe you could have improved and then you have this better GRE score. And it's like, great, GRE was a better test for you. You've shown this improvement, and that's so wonderful that you were able to go on that journey of self-discovery and self-reflection.
Surprisingly, GRE was actually more popular this past year. And then for GMAT, one thing we've noticed in terms of like students once they get in the classroom space, the verbal plays a huge role once they become a student because of the communication aspect. So more people with higher verbal scores, they're doing well in the communications class, but also being able to, lead, workshops or being able to articulate things within the classroom space. So verbal is a very underrated aspect of the GMAT, but it's very useful once you're going through the process of actually being a student.
Looking at the waiver, I would say, one, the waiver is not for everyone. And there are some candidates out there where we're going to highly recommend that you take the test. Because once again, there are areas where we're unsure of what the strength of your quantitative ability may be.
especially the quantitative section, whether it's the quantitative section of the GRE, the quantitative subsections of the GMAT. Those sections tend to have a fair amount of predictive power for a student's performance later on in an MBA program. So we do look at that.
You as a candidate really don't know from one year to the next what's going to happen. So it's kind of, lack of a better term, putting your best foot forward based on what you think your candidacy looks like. Again, whether you're an engineer that's taken a lot of quant classes and has done decently well, or maybe, again, you're a poet and you maybe not necessarily taken a lot of quant courses. How are you going to show the committee at UCLA Anderson that you can handle that academic rigor?
The test is a component of the process. Schools are asking for different things, so know what you need to deliver for any school that you're applying to.
You might be a liberal arts major, didn't take any quantitative courses, and maybe you're looking to go into investment banking. We have a very competitive applicant pool out there. And once again, we have to have full confidence that you're going to come into the program and do well. So, this is where you really need to think about, where does it make sense for you to actually take the test versus ask for a waiver.
But look through what those tests are. What do they test for? What are the format of the questions?
Making sure that you're taking the test that you're most comfortable with, and being able to submit that score with your application by the application deadline.
For our other MBA programs at Foster, GMAT, GRE, in all their variations, totally fine. But the executive assessment is also acceptable for any of our part-time MBAs.
So in our part-time MBA, our executive MBA program, they have been admitting people from a test optionality standpoint, or other options like the executive assessment beyond just the GMAT or GRE, and they're doing well. So again, UCLA, which is really grounded in research and data-driven decisions, the business school, especially the full-time MBA program, we were able to finally move that process forward.
Trends that we're seeing, I would say that over the years, we've seen more students taking the GRE, and I would still say that the majority of our applicant pool, the majority of our incoming class has submitted a test, whether it is the GMAT or the GRE. But also, too, we know that the challenges that people have faced over the last couple of years, between COVID, between tech layoffs, and all the various layoffs that are happening out there, we're starting to see a little bit more asking for waivers. But once again, still the majority submitting a test.
It is an important factor in a highly competitive process, and it can help tip the scales in your favor, or it can be like another feather on a scale that complements a really strong academic career.
Put yourself in a situation where you feel like you can be successful, because what we're really looking for there is, can you be academically successful?